As a helpful hint, what we do in industry is we put on these cotton liners before we put on our gloves, and that helps keep the sweat from rolling out. You know, if you just have gloves on, you know, water's just going to come pouring out of here. So that's how we dress out in our protective clothing. We do that. In this video, we have a Troy-built self-propelled lawnmower. Now, you've heard the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, I don't want to fix anything, but it's 14 years old. It's been used for, let's say 15 summers, cutting grass. So I did want to see if it needs grease or oil or just otherwise inspect it and clean it up. I know it looks clean on the outside here, but that's just kind of a superficial clean, because when I'm done in the yard, I just kind of blow it off, wipe it off. So it's kind of an illusion. All right, let's start tearing this apart. Now, there's something really strange about these wheels. They are extremely inexpensive. Also, there are two types. I'll have to look them up. I'll put words up here. But there's two tread types. The inside varies a little bit too with the gearing, but my whole point is these are extremely inexpensive. These are like $10 to $20 a piece, and I say that because of tax and shipping and handling. You know, you can pay 10 bucks for it, but after tax and shipping and handling, it's 20, you know, for each. Now you go back to the back wheel back here. If you look past my vise, they're like twice as much, almost 3 times as much. They're like $45, $50 a piece. Insane. T30. Oops, gonna have to do something about that. All right, a little bit of overkill here. All right, the other side is turning freely also. So I'm going to remove the pin and the cover and see if my punch here, my bright idea, works. So let's see. And it did. All right, we got 14 millimeter again back here for this nut and bolt. Alright, we are off. Okay, I'm removing the cover. However, these aren't the original screws, so the fact that I'm using an Allen doesn't mean anything. I think they were Phillips screws. I think they were sheet metal screws. The holes enlarged over time and ended up using these socket-headed cap screws. Alright. Cover's off. Alright, cleanup's a breeze. I don't know what happened here. It looks like a rub spot. I peeled it back a little bit. Maybe I'll get in there and treat that rust and reseal it somehow. I don't know. I don't know how it got damaged. Maybe that's on the inside. I don't know. Oh well, doesn't really matter, does it? Alright, let's take this belt off. We don't have to get underneath there and remove the blade or anything to get to it. Alright, we'll remove the belt guard with a T20. And the belt should come right off. Let's see if I can show that. Pretty easy, even without disassembling everything. If you need to change the belt, that's pretty much all you do. Take the cover off, take that one screw out, the belt guard, and that's it. Change the belt. You will have to take the blade off underneath there, but that's okay. Alright, now we get to disconnect all this good stuff over here. Alright, next we'll disconnect the return spring. This spring helps the unit come back into the rest position so that when you release the cable, the wheels are not turning. Do that. Now we'll disconnect the line. And with this Z-bend here. And it's still connected though. The line is connected to the unit. Looks like we can pop it out here, but I'm not sure. I need to look at it a little bit closer and figure that out. Then I have these spacer pieces. They're going to come off. Don't forget to put them back on. Let me do all that. Okay, to get the cable out, I had to clean it all up. I sprayed it with brake cleaner and finally was able to squeeze it and get it out. Alright, let me do a little bit of housekeeping and clean my mess up here, get a clean environment for reassembly. Also, I'll show taking this apart before I clean it up because that's the whole purpose. And this is $150, $150 to $180 when you count tax and shipping, depending on who you buy it from. So it's really kind of amazing because, you know, you can pick these mowers up for like 20 bucks at the yard sale. But if you start buying parts for them, you know, you're talking $99, $99, $100, $150. It's all the little nuts and bolts. I mean, you really don't care about those, but it's really interesting. Oh, that's another spot that's injured. I think the deck was $150, $180. Might have been $200. I don't know. Anyway, fun stuff. Notice there's some flat spots there, one there and one there, so I'm going to grip it there. That worked. The screw went somewhere on the floor. Now I get to go hunt it down. So that's how you do that. So it looks like it's two pieces. So let me see if it comes apart that way. Alright, so that's what it looks like. Okay. That's off. That's off. Alright, you can see the flat spots real easy in this shot here. And you can also see that they're keyed. Not really round. So that, as they say, is that. There's the flats. Next, we'll take the plate off, and this is where I'm reminded that back in the day, when the earth was cooling, and we only had cameras, digital cameras, I would take pictures of things before I took them apart, and that way it would help me put them back together. Also, we had bulletin boards and not videos, so I could post the pictures on the bulletin boards also. So if you see my name around, that's what I did. Mostly BMW, as I recall. Alright, that's off. Alright, got some more cleaning to do. Okay, it looks like I couldn't get it apart because it's sealed, meaning that they use like a silicone gasket material or whatever. I'm going to have to get some like form a gasket or something to put this back together. So I'm going to take these screws out and get it apart and show it to you. This is a locking push pin that's holding the actuator on. So I'll have to pop that off more than likely. We'll see. Alright, T20 a bunch of times. Alright, we're looking at model number 618-04377 Alpha. Serial number, the Earth was cooling. Alright, very good. Alright, I see a little crack in the armor. Let's see if I can get in there and pry it open. Okay, I can smell it. It's gear oil, so we're making progress. Oh, drip. Drip, drip, drip. Alright, let's see what I've gotten myself into. It looks like it's all kind of stuck together and glued together with gasket sealant or something. Anyway, there it is. Ta-da! So I'm going to look at that, clean it up, fill it up with gear oil, put it back together. There we are, all clean, ready for reassembly, and I don't want to tell you how much fun I had because I had no fun whatsoever. How in the heck does any of that go back together? Huh. Should have took some pictures when I took it apart. Now for reassembly. So this is how it's going to look all together. The orientation is such that we're looking at it on the machine. This is the pulley. This is the cable. So we're going to assemble it just like it is going to appear on the machine. So we're going to assemble it like this. Here's our reassembly, and it's all based around the pin. There's the pin and the short side. There's the bottom and the top. So the way we'll begin is we will start with a thin washer. There's two thin ones and one thick one. We'll begin there. Then technically the actuator goes on next, but since that has to be fitted into the bottom and the top and oriented, we'll deal with it later. Next we'll put the thick washer on. I can get my glove out of the way. Then the gear, then the spring, then the pin, and you want to be careful that it doesn't come out. So you don't want the pin to come out. Then your seal. Then on the other side is the other thin washer. And then the seal. So there it is, all assembled. Your actuator, oh, it's going to stand up like this. It's going to go right here and push to actuate it. So it'll be pushed to the stage right when it's actuated. Now on the bottom piece, the drive gear will rest here, and then the actuator lever will sit right here. So the pin is going to live right in here. And it's going to spin around. There's going to be a washer on either side so it doesn't collide with anything, so it can spin smoothly and freely. And then our seal will go here. So let's set this down in place. Wow, that's never happened in all the times I practiced this. This one's slightly off a little bit, needs to go outboard, but that's okay. The main thing I want to show you, I'm keeping the pin from falling out. The main thing I want to show you is that the pin and the two washers right in there. And then this guy will fit in here. But how do you put him in there? Well, you just kind of set it in place, make sure the washer is up against the gear, and then you rotate it so that this guy sits in that little slot there. Now, the whole time you're doing this, you need to make sure that that pin does not fall out of place. When you rattle this thing, before you screw it together, you should not hear anything. You should not hear that pin rattling around in there, then it fell out. So here we are, all ready for reassembly. Now I'm going to seal it off camera and put it together. This is just a demo, if you will. So the main thing going on here is you want to line up the shaft in that little round holding area that I showed earlier, and then all I hear rattling. So you can see the O-ring. I don't have it down all the way, but you can test it. Make sure that it's engaging. You know, turn the shaft, it's turning freely. And then engaged, you can see the drive turning. See if I can get that on camera. There we go. Yeah, I can see that nut spinning around. So we'll put this down all the way. Then we have like a felt washer that goes on top here. And then this locking washer snaps on top of there. Now I'm going to tell you right off, I don't have the specs on this, so I'm going to just use some synthetic gear lube, and I have some 75/90. That's what I have, so that's what I'm going to use. You know, brand doesn't matter. Weight, you know, it's going to vary a little bit. Most of them I see are something W90. But anyway, my whole point is, after the sealant has dried, we will fill it up with gear oil and then check for leaks. Because if it leaks, we're going to have a mess on our hands, have to take it all apart and do it all over again. So just, you know, do your gasket maker application correctly. Now, after it's filled up and we confirmed it's not leaking, then we can just push this guy down all the way, put on our little locking washer, you know, our felt washer and then locking washer, and we'll be ready for reassembly on the lawnmower. A couple of things I want to talk about. I decided to use Q-tips to help keep the holes clean. We'll see. That is an oil galley. Same thing over here, so you don't want to seal those off with your goop. The oil needs to splash around in there and go back down into the sump. Also, in the past, I used to go out of my way to try and save these tubes because you never use all of it, and it seems like this gets filled up and it's a big waste. Well, I stopped doing that. I don't do that anymore. I mean, you just have to absorb the cost, in my opinion, trying to save them, then poking holes in the side to squeeze out the stuff that hadn't solidified so you can reuse it. I mean, I'm the epitome of cheapness, but I just don't do that anymore. All right, let me get to work here. Okay, so here's what I did with the top side, concentrating on the transition areas, which is where the seal and the gasket around the top starts. Then for the bottom, I did a 360. Also again concentrating here. I'm not worried about the shaft sticking to the gasket. I'm sure I can free that up. What little bit might stick to it as it squishes out. And now for the real assembly. Alright, I placed the drive shaft into position. Note the two washers over here for the pin. Also tech tip, notice that the pin here is on the same plane as the pin that will hold the drive wheel, so you can use that as a visual reference as to how this pin is looking. Alright, now let's assemble the top. Alright, let's get this guy into position. Last check. Make sure all your bases are covered. You want to go as straight down as possible because you need this to sit into the cup down there. Can you see it on the edge right there? You could even put a little oil in there if you want to. I don't think it's necessary, but I decided to put a slight film on there. I don't have any engine rebuild oil, so I just put a little Vaseline on there, especially on the bottom. That won't hurt. Alright, let's get this assembled. Alright, I'm going to get some screws started on the four corners. Going with the setting of 1. Alright, they're all down with a setting of 1. Not too bad. I'm going to clean that up, wipe it off. Alright, don't tell anyone. As a guy, I'm not allowed to read instructions, but it says, you know, assemble immediately while it's still wet, finger tight. You know, I had a low setting of 1 on my screwdriver there. It says let dry for an hour and then torque it down, and then let it sit for 24 hours before filling with fluid. Alright, 24 hours. Alright, so at work we used to call it nuclear hold. That's where you just sat around all dressed out in your protective clothing, just waiting and waiting and waiting. You know, you needed an operator to come down, close a valve, needed your paperwork signed by a supervisor or someone, you know. Anyway, it was always some sort of hold up, and we used to call it nuclear hold. Well, while I'm waiting 24 hours for that gasket material to dry, I can be doing other things. Of course, if I was getting paid, I would sit around and wait. Alright, so I'm going to assemble this side. It's real easy. You can't mess up. You can't put the right side on the left side. So this will go on here like this. Ooh, it stays there by itself. Alright, also do not want to forget the shield that goes underneath here. So the bolt will pass through there. So I'll get that all set up. Tighten it down. The bolt was in the middle screw here. Alright. Just plate up in here. I'm going to stick the bolt in the other side just to hold the plate in place, but I'm not going to assemble it just yet. Alright, get my 14 millimeter in here. I can fish it in there. I'm just on a setting of 1. Alright, let me get the long shaft in there. Oh, maybe I'll lube it up. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll put some grease on there or something. South Main. Alright, well now I'm going to grease it all up, put the tube on there, and then shove it back through. Alright, let's get this going here. Alright, now that that's assembled, I up my setting to 3 and give it a torque here. Good enough. Alright, well I'm not going to paint it. Let me make sure I have enough clearance when I put my oil in there. Let's see. Wonder if I should leave that off until... Yeah. I'm going to leave that off until I fill it up with oil, which is in 23 hours. Well, the wheel drive gears are marked left and right. I didn't know that. Fun stuff. Okay, that's as far as I can go until the 22.5 hours are up. Alright, it's been 24 hours. Time to put some oil in here, but I need to be careful because it can flip over. So I don't want it all to run out. So let me get between a half a cup and a cup of oil in there. I really don't need to fill it up all the way to the top because I don't know, you saw how much came out. Half a cup, quarter of a cup, I don't know. Alright, I'm just going to pour it out of a container. I'm only going to fill it up a little bit at a time because I need to get it all the way up here. If I fill it to the top, you know, then I'm, you know, defeating the purpose. So let me put a little bit at a time in there. I'm using the container to keep it from flipping over. How about that? Let me get my drizzle in here. Alright, I'll keep doing that. Alright, I am declaring that as full. Alright, let's get the cap on here. O-rings in place. I've shown this a couple of times, so let me finish that. Get my fuzzy wuzzy little washer here. And lock it down. 11 millimeter. spinning, not spinning, spinning, not spinning. Alright, next we have the top plate here. I'll get that screwed down. Alright, because I'm going into plastic, I'll just have a setting of 2 here. So we'll get this last screw in. Just got it started. Alright, the flats are like 2 1/16 or 2 3/16, somewhere in there, something like that. 55 millimeters. Basically, I don't have a wrench that big. I have a socket. So we're back to the pliers. And 13 millimeter. Let's see here. Get this guy going. Lock him down. Get our plate on here. Tighten this screw back here. Alright, I tightened the bolt down from underneath. Got the spring on. So everything's tight. Got our new high quality cable. High quality because focus so professional. Alright, no more comments. Came with wire ties. Very good. Okay, here are the 2 ends. This goes up by the handle, and this, of course, clicks in place at the transmission. Of course, when I'm installing this, I just realized that when I took it off, I should have disconnected it up top. That would have gave me more room to play with. All right, let's see what I have here. I know it's difficult to see, but there's a slot right there. So if I zoom out and show you the top cover, has these little tabs on here that fit in there on both sides. So that's fun getting that back in. Alright, there's 2 screws that go in. I'll show you the easy one. Alright, all done. We still have to hook up the cable on the handle. My goodness, I think I used every tool I own to do this job. Good grief. I didn't even show the sonic cleaner over here. Cleaned up some parts. Anyway, let's finish hooking up the cable. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, this looks easy enough. Out with the old, in with the new. But first I wanted to show you the routing. So with the routing, I'm just going to come around the right hand side here and just come right up to the actuator here. I'm not going to feed it around the bars. I'll just wire tie it down in convenient location. Alright, that was easy. Hope my hands weren't in the way. I really wasn't watching the camera. I'll set it on a 2. Yeah, I'm gonna need more than that. 5. That worked. Alright. Okay, a little side note. The gears are marked left and right, at least on my machine, and I put them on backwards. So it didn't really roll. I had to switch the gears around. And those are the gears at the end of the shaft that drive the wheels. So now it works fine. I'll show you. Thank you for watching.